Some viewers may find the following video disturbing. Viewer discretion is advised.
She was on the verge of having life she'd always dreamed of, moving from Russia to the US to be with the love of her life, the hope to start a family with a wonderful future ahead of her. But this beginning, filled with only lies and deceit, would only lead to a tragic ending. Hey everyone, you're watching Letter M. My name is Ben. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell before we get started. This is a story of Anna Repkina and a lowlife that couldn't turn back the clock. See you inside. Anna Repkina wasn't looking for much. She wanted love, to get married and have a family. This is why she'd recently broken up with her boyfriend of 7 years. They wanted different things in life. So Anna did what many other 26-year-olds do. She logged onto a Russian social networking site with the hope that she would find somebody who wanted the same things in life that she did. In 2016, she found someone that seemed almost too good to be true. Will Hargrove from the United States had a captivating personality. He was charming, funny, and charismatic. His friends described him as encouraging and lighthearted, always wanting to make people laugh. Friend and former roommate Jamie said he had the gift of gab. He was a good conversationalist, and he could put anyone at ease. He worked as a mechanic at a local car dealership, but bonded with his friend Joseph over their previous military careers. He told Joseph that while in the Marines, he had been stationed in Russia, which explained why he was so interested in Russian culture. So of course, after going online and meeting Anna, they really seemed to hit it off, bonding over music, their love of rock concerts, traveling. He was complimentary, paid attention to her, even sending her flowers from the US. The relationship quickly grew to the point where Anna was ready and willing to fly to the States to meet Will in person. This wasn't a mail-order bride situation at all. By all accounts, Anna was in love with Will, and her family was open to their relationship, although a bit wary about the speed at which everything was happening. Will even told his friends that Anna was the love of his life. Will lived in the city of Albany, Oregon, home to just over 56,000 people. Albany is a growing and prosperous city with a rich history, sitting in the center of the Willamette Valley. Albany is surrounded by rich farmland as well as mountains, but also it's only about an hour drive to the Pacific coastline. With a rich arts community, growing economy, beautiful parks and scenery, Albany seemed like the perfect place to raise a family. So over the 2016 holiday season, Anna flew to Oregon to meet Will to see whether or not the feelings they had for each other would be just as strong after meeting each other in person. She posted photos of their time together, of going to the beach, Will's cars, sharing their deepening romance with her friends and family. When she flew home after a romantic 10-day adventure, it was with an engagement ring and a fiancé waiting for her to return. From Anna's point of view, things were working out great. She and Will would get married and begin their new life together in the States. And even though her mom thought that their relationship seemed to be moving a little too fast, with love in her heart, she helped her daughter look for her wedding dress, later helped her pack her things, uprooting her life in Russia to be with the man of her dreams thousands of miles away in Oregon. But in the midst of all this planning and preparation, excitement and butterflies, there was something going on that Anna knew absolutely nothing about. While staying with Will at his room, Anna met homeowner and mother of two, Michelle Chavez. Will was renting the room in her house, so the couple saw her often during Anna's stay. But little did Anna know that Will was a lot more to Michelle than simply a rentee. Although Michelle was married and living together with her husband and kids, he and she had simply fallen out of love, living together more as roommates than in any sort of romantic capacity. She'd met Will a while back at a bar where she worked, and while it started off as a friendship, they eventually grew into something much, much more. Will made Michelle feel beautiful, desired and loved, something that she hadn't felt in her own marriage for a very long time. Their affair progressed, and in the summer of 2016, Will began renting this room in the house of his mistress, right under her family's nose. She promised Will that she would leave her husband to be with him, but she wanted it to be on her own terms. Still, she was very serious about their relationship, and even gave Will her wedding ring as a sign of her promise to one day get a divorce. So why then would Will go on all of these sites looking for love? He wasn't seen as a player or any kind of ladies' man. Whether it was to try to make Michelle jealous, forcing her hand to make her leave her husband, or whether he just wasn't happy in the relationship anymore. Will embarked on this new adventure, paved with lies, along with Anna, who was completely unaware of his other life. Meanwhile, Will was telling Michelle that Anna was just a tourist he met in a bar, and he was showing her around. Will knew that Michelle, in her own words, wasn't into monogamy. She didn't care if Will was having a little fling here or there, as long as she was the one that he belonged to. She wouldn't be so forgiving when Anna returned in March of 2017 with the intention of becoming Will's bride. Michelle refused to allow Anna to stay in their house, so Will and Anna rented an apartment nearby in the college town of Corvallis. This made sense to Anna, considering they were going to be married soon and needed a place of their own. She wasn't working yet, so she had to spend a lot of time on her own. Meanwhile, even though Will was engaged to Anna, he was still secretly seeing Michelle, which caused Anna to question what Will was doing with all of his time. He would disappear to the point where Anna would text his friends asking where he was and what was going on. Her suspicions were growing, and sadly they were correct. Michelle and Anna had added each other as friends on Facebook. Things came to a head, however, when one day Michelle saw a post of Anna's that shocked and infuriated her. It was a photo of Anna wearing Michelle's wedding ring. Lying yet again, he told Anna that the ring he proposed to her with had belonged to his grandmother. This began a war of words between the two women. While Anna perceived Michelle as the crazy ex-girlfriend, Michelle saw Anna as the girl that just couldn't take a hint. Will had told Michelle that he'd tried to break it off with Anna many times, but that she just kept coming back and he felt sorry for her. Will Hargrove's two worlds just kept colliding. What might have looked to his friends like always wanting to put people at ease was in actuality turning himself into the person he wanted others to perceive. An example, he told his friends he was in the armed forces, the Marines, but according to prosecutors, he was never in the military. Will wanted to seem more important than he really was. Almost everything about him was a lie. And it was becoming harder and harder for Will to keep his stories straight. It was apparent he wasn't going to be able to make everyone happy, but he just couldn't stop himself from trying to be all things to all people. He promised Anna a beautiful and private wedding ceremony on the beach. They scheduled it in late March, on the 25th. As they drove to the location, he stopped to buy wedding bands at a local Walmart, leaving Anna in the car. And as he's buying their wedding rings, he's talking to Michelle on the phone, promising to break it off with Anna, and discussing whether or not he'd have time to see her that night. The witnesses and Anna stood waiting patiently on the beach, as Will called the wedding officiant to see why he wasn't showing up. In reality, Will was calling a couple video game stores, pretending to be irate towards wedding officials over the no-show. The truth was he never arranged for an officiant in the first place, and had never even obtained a marriage license or certificate. He didn't prepare anything at all. Still, Anna was understanding and planned on rescheduling the wedding date. Meanwhile, the pressure Michelle was putting on Will was having an effect. In messages they sent each other, she would tell him to get rid of her and fix this. At one point, she told him that if she wasn't gone by Thursday, she would be building a snowman, an inside joke in her family about killing a person and hiding the body in a snowman, somewhere so cold the snow would never melt. Michelle would later say that she didn't mean anything serious by these offhand remarks. There's no understanding what was going on in Will Hargrove's mind. He could have just told Anna he changed his mind. If he didn't have the guts to face her, he could have just told her in a text message. Anything would have been better than to do what he did next. On April 17, 2017, the police would receive a call that the body of a young woman was found, abandoned, out on a secluded logging road in the hills of Alsea, Oregon. It was Anna Repkina. She had received a single shotgun blast to the back of the head. By some miracle, a local caretaker had found her while out walking his dog. If he hadn't happened by at that time, she may have ended up never being found. She was only killed just the day before. Trash was littered all around her body. From it, police were able to identify 2 receipts that had been discarded. One of the receipts was from Kentucky Fried Chicken, and only a few days old. The timestamp on the receipt was matched to a debit card belonging to a man named Kevin Thomas. When questioned, he said that he and his brother Will Hargrove always went to KFC on Fridays. Kevin Thomas wasn't actually Hargrove's brother, but it seemed like a lot of Will's friends thought of him that way. What police were especially interested to learn from Kevin is that Will had recently borrowed his shotgun because he felt like going out in the woods and blowing off some steam. The other receipt police had found was from a McDonald's drive-thru, dated the 25th of March. Police were able to identify Will Hargrove's vehicle from the McDonald's security footage, containing an image of a woman wearing a white wedding dress in the passenger seat. This would be the last known footage taken of Anna Repkina. Detectives began going over Will Hargrove's movements with a fine-tooth comb. He began making withdrawals at ATMs, taking out around $800 total from Anna Repkina's bank account. He used the money to pay off an insurance bill, but then also began to make a lot of odd random purchases. He bought cigars, candy, video games. One security photo showed him purchasing an expensive Star Wars Lego set. Did this reflect a callous attitude towards his fiance's murder, or was it something else? In text messages to his friend Kevin Thomas, Will stated that he was spending money he shouldn't because he was trying to distract himself. It seems that Will had been telling friends about how upset he was that his girlfriend Anna had left him. Video surveillance even captured him crying on a friend's shoulder at a convenience store. But it began to get weird when detectives started looking into his browsing history. Will had been searching desperately for a way to travel back in time. He'd been saving screenshots of web pages, trying to learn spells and incantations to take him back to April 16th so that he could stop a friend from making a horrible mistake. One of his messages to a time-traveling specialist on WhatsApp read, "I want to go back to April 16th, 2017 at 11:30 in the morning to stop the day from happening as it did. I want to convince myself we need to stay home so nothing bad happens. I want to go back to keep from losing the woman that should be my wife. Can it be done? Please. I'd honestly sell my soul." Police went to talk to Will, who tried to establish an alibi with Michelle, saying that they drove to Alsea together. Police even later obtained the text message Will sent to Michelle, telling her what to say. So with all the text messages he'd been sending people, with all the conversations with Anna recorded on Facebook, with all the sad stories he'd been telling friends about his girlfriend Anna leaving him, after cleaning all the trash out of his car at the murder scene, and even after taking money from her account after she was murdered, Will thought he could put one over on detectives by pretending he barely knew her.
What do you know about her?
Almost nothing.
How'd you guys meet?
Met her downtown Corvallis.
Just walking around?
Yeah, we went on 2 dates, and then I told her it wasn't going to be anything more than that. And I was happy to keep hanging out with her, but that was all it was going to be.
How long ago was that?
Last time I saw her was middle of March. Cut it off because she decided to put on Facebook that we were engaged.
She posted that?
Yeah.
After 2 days?
Oh yeah, and it brought hell down upon me.
From who?
Michelle.
So, Will, your trash was found where somebody was killed.
I'm sorry, what?
Okay? That's what we're talking about here.
You guys are looking at me for this?
Your trash, like my partner said, was found there.
Your stuff was found at a scene where somebody died.
Yeah.
Okay? Talking to you, there's a lot of inconsistencies with your story about what happened.
No offense, guys. You've been really kind, and I like you. And I don't mind that. But the moment that you say somebody was killed out there, that no, it's just, no.
Okay? So, William Hargrove, I need you to stand up and put your hands behind your back. You're under arrest for the murder of Anna Repkina.
So Will Hargrove was arrested for the murder of his fiancée, Anna Repkina. The month-long trial would take place in October of 2019. The defense would try to spin a completely different tale, that Michelle had actually been the one there and had pulled the trigger, saying that she was the one with the real motive. Well, it is true that a number of Michelle's actions seem suspicious. She had met up with Will and Elsie after the murder and had makeup sex in the car with him. Her phone records showed that a month before the murder, she had been out on that same logging road where Anna's body was found. However, she claimed it was Will that brought her there. She had initially lied to the police, trying to give Will an alibi because of that text that he sent her. But she recanted shortly after the attempt. In her favor, her fingerprints and DNA were not found on the murder weapon, only Will's. Will texting her last minute for an alibi also seems to show that they hadn't had any previous discussion of the matter. And it's true that she wasn't in Elsie when Will committed this crime. In any case, the DA had no physical evidence linking her to Anna's murder, and they seemed to believe her story for the most part. The jury deliberated for 3 hours before returning with a verdict of guilty for the murder of Anna Repkina. Will Hargrove received a sentence of life in prison, with the possibility of parole after 25 years. It wasn't a crime of passion or greed or lust. Will Hargrove killed her because it made his life a little more convenient. To Anna Repkina, the girl who traveled across the globe in search of happiness, you deserve better. Thank you all for joining me today for the story of Anna Repkina. Before you go, don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories like this one. And let me know what you think about the case in the comments. A possible parole after 25 years? Does it seem right to you? Also, if any of you know the secret to time travel, definitely get back with me. Until then, I'll see you on the next case. Letter M signing off. And always remember...